What's up, y'all? Today I'm going to do my first album review. It's a little bit late. This album's been out for a while. I want to say for about a month. So don't kill me for that. I apologize about that. I just wanted to review this album because I cannot get over how good it is. Of course, I am talking about the new Zeal and Ardor album, Stranger Fruit. This album hit me like a ton of bricks, man. I don't know how these two worlds got collided. Of course, I'm talking about American slave spiritual music and black metal and death metal. I don't know how they could possibly fit together into one thing, but this album just shows you, man, that anything is possible. When you talk about extreme music and especially metal works well with so many different styles and so many different things. You can't really say, oh, you can't incorporate that instrument, you can't incorporate that style, that culture. That's not going to work. It all works, man. When given to the right hands, you can make any style of music from any time and place, anywhere, and mix it with extreme metal, and it's gonna sound good if entrusted to the right hands. So this is an album that fits that criteria. I'm hoping to kind of score this for the avant-garde side of things. People keep saying this is a black metal album. I really don't think it is, man. I think it's varied enough. I think that black metal shows up here and there, but it's not as consistent through the track listing that you could honestly call this a black metal record. I think this is an avant-garde record, and I think that if this is helping to pave the way for the future of avant-garde, then that's a very, very, very good thing. Avant-garde prides itself on being strange and weird and off the wall, and while this album is off the wall, it's not necessarily strange or weird in that sense, in the sense of a Sleepy Time Gorilla Museum or a Mr. Bungle or something like that. But the way that it fuses these different styles of music is something that makes the album, in my mind, an avant-garde album. And I'd be happy, like I said, to kind of chalk this up as another successful experiment in the history of avant-garde metal and avant-garde music. So yeah, what can I say? I enjoyed most of this album. There was a stretch of songs, I think, between the 12th track, Can't Be Found, and the 15th track, Coagula, that I didn't really dig, that I didn't really enjoy. But, the rest of the album is fantastic. The first 10 tracks, stellar. All the songs were pretty short, which is good. There were plenty of ideas on this album, and they all got incorporated very, very well. From the very powerful, loud, heart-thumping drums to the vocals that sounded like they were coming through a PA system or coming through a megaphone. Those were really good. The vocals on this track, or on this album, I should say, really kind of stole the show in several different songs. I'm going to get to the individual songs here in a minute, but it's just, I think this guy obviously has a great singing capacity for that style of music, for that kind of, that slave spiritual, that oh brother where art thou type of music. He's got a great, tone for that. Like, the tone of his voice really fits that, and he did a great job kind of keeping with the cadence and the rhythm and just the flavor of those different sounds and of that style. So I'm talking about Oh Brother Where Art Thou, so I might as well get to the first track that I was really impressed by, which was Gravedigger's Chant. Now, this isn't really a metal song per se. It's definitely the most commercial track on the album, but the vocals and the piano were stellar on this track, and it really made me think this is like maybe a modern day pop track. But, that's just me coming from a background in metal. I don't really know if this fits with the modern day pop aesthetic very well, but it sounded like a song that could be on the radio easily. Like, this song was so good. I wouldn't show this song, however, to, let's say, like a tried and true metalhead who is wanting to be introduced to Zeal and Ardor's music for the first time. I'd kind of keep this song tucked away and then bring it out once they had seen enough of the metal side of this band that they could be convinced further by a performance like the kind you found on this track. So Gravedigger's Chant was amazing. Definitely going to be one of the highlights on the album for a lot of people. Check that song out, guys. Servants, the next track, was one of the best songs on the album. I love that vocal refrain that they kept in this track, that servants, join us. It was so powerful, man. This is when you really started to see those two worlds start to collide. And it didn't really reach its apex until further on in the track listing, but this is the first kind of introduction into that sort of sound, that kind of melding of styles and of sensibilities. You definitely find on this track Servants. Of course, the vocals on this track are powerful. The guitar riff is amazing. I found that this track, being about 3 minutes, it was perfect for the ideas that were being executed on this track. I don't know how this would have survived, 5, 6, 7 minutes. So again, the track listing on this album, all of the track lengths, I think they really served to have these track lengths be a bit shorter, just to execute the idea, get in and get out. I thought they did a really good job of not overstaying their welcome on any given track. So, Don't You Dare. Don't You Dare was one of the songs on the album I thought really brought to life, again, the fusion of these two styles. I mean, you had, it started off with crickets chirping and this kind of hollow sounding guitar. There was sort of an earworm, I like to describe it as like an earworm guitar line or guitar melody, and then that led into this perfect black metal fucking explosion that happens on a lot of these songs. And the vocals, they took on that typical classic retched quality that you find in a lot of black metal for the first time on this song. So that was pretty cool. The black metal sections in this song were definitely the highlight. The vocal sample in this song was very chilling, I thought. It makes you think, in a way, American slavery was one of the most dark, morbid episodes in our country's history, if not the most. That's perfect for a perfect concept or theme for a black metal album. Black metal's supposed to be about stuff that's dark, that's satanic, that's mysterious, that's mystical and all this stuff. But if you think about it, man, American slavery for the however long, the 300-400 years, I don't know how long slavery was officially an institution in this country, but people say 400 years. But however long, how many centuries it was going on, slavery definitely represents one of the darkest subject matters that you could possibly hit upon. And so because of that, I think it's perfect for becoming the theme or concept of a black metal album, or just an extreme metal album in general. So yeah, this song, Don't You Dare, you guys got to check that song out. That song was excellent. The next song I want to hit on was The Hermit, and they did this a couple times. The Hermit, and there's another track called The Fool, which occurs later in the track listing. They serve almost as like breaks from the traditional, or from the standard fare of the album. The album's going along, and they're introducing these old influences from Southern slave spirituals into black metal and death metal, and they're doing it very well. And then they hit you with a track that's like The Hermit or The Fool that really kind of busts up the energy and brings something completely new in. And I thought The Hermit did a really good job of that. Some really cool melodies, harmonies on this song. Great vocals, very ghostly, very apparitions. It almost made you think of New Age music. It reminded me a little bit of some of the New Age music I've heard. So kind of very out there, but it made me think of like that scene in Oh Brother, Where Art Thou, when they go to that weird spot in the forest, and there's all these people kind of chanting and singing, and they're going into the river to be baptized, or whenever they go into the river and they find those 3 seductresses in there, and they kind of lure them in. It's almost like you're in the American South somewhere in rural Alabama somewhere, and then you're in the forest, in the woods, kind of wandering, and you stumble upon something completely magical and out of this world, right? And it kind of just sucks you in, and I really felt that on this track, The Hermit. I really like that. I might as well talk about The Fool as well. The Fool is a fantastic electronic song. It's got no guitar riffage, just like The Hermit doesn't have any guitar riffage on it, but The Fool has just got this beautiful ear candy electronic melody. I can't get it out of my head. Like, I have to listen to that song all the time. I really love that song. So, needless to say, this band, Zeal Ardor, did a great job kind of incorporating these different style tracks into the track listing to keep things moving and to keep things interesting. So the next song I'd like to talk about that's a more standard song is Row, Row. And this definitely sounded like a slave spiritual. There are people that were clapping in rhythm. The vocal melody is super upbeat, and it just sounds fucking cool, man. It's just, I don't know, if you put this on, it's hard not to gyrate your body and move around to this, especially the opening of this song. It's just super powerful. It's got a very sort of American flavor to it, which I love. It's sort of this build in the song at the pounding drums, the electric guitar, followed by another sort of black metal style explosion that seems to come from nowhere, but oddly enough, it seems to fit very well within the track. And it doesn't, it doesn't take anything away from the vibe that's been set earlier. It's just a totally smooth transition into something really heavy and really chaotic, and it sounds great. But the vocals, I thought, were definitely the highlight of the track. You had the catchy, clean vocals, and then you also had the wretched vocals. I thought whoever was performing those did an excellent job on this track. Yeah, I don't know how the drums on this album sound the way they do, why they sound so great and fantastic, but man, they are punishing. They're pummeling. There's not a bunch of crazy fills. There's not a lot of blast beats, and nothing too fancy, we'll say. But the sound of the drums, it just bangs, man. It just, if you have a good subwoofer in your stereo system, and you're really going to appreciate the pound of those drums. So yeah, Row Row is definitely one of the best songs on the album. This brings me to the next song that I really enjoyed. It's called Waste. This has got a lot of static on the track. Well, a lot of the songs have a bunch of static on the track, but the drums, of course, are intense. There's some black metal riffage in there, lots of tremolo picking. It sounds like this song sounds like it's straight out of Norwegian black metal. So that's pretty cool. This is sort of like the most tried and true Norwegian black metal or old school black metal track on the album. It doesn't really, there's not really any intros or interludes like the other tracks had, where you felt like, oh man, this is definitely like, this is the old South right here. It's like, no, this track seems to be more of a homogeneous sort of black metal chunk. So I really liked the melody in this song. The bass was really prominent. The guitar melody towards the end of the song was just incredible. So yeah, this is one of my favorite personal songs on this album, Waste. I think it's track 9. I could be wrong on that, but I really loved that track. Because like I said, from tracks 12 to 15, I wasn't really digging them so much. But this last track, Built on Ashes, the longest track on the album, the closer on the album, this song was perfect, man. This was like the guitar riff opening that song and the vocals together created this beautiful harmony together, and it sounds like a closer should. And the melody again is earworm quality. It'll get stuck in your head. It sounds a little bit poppy with the vocals, but he does have a little bit of grit in his voice, so it's not totally clean. He's got, especially when he starts to get more and more intense, that kind of like that natural grit starts to come out a lot more. So metal fans, don't be afraid to listen to this just because of the clean vocals. The clean vocals are not super poppy. They're not super clean. There is some grit in there. You guys are going to enjoy that. But it's a somber track. The piano sounds great on the track. I really think that the melody is what makes this track. It makes me think that this song, Built on Ashes, sort of makes me reflect a little bit. It makes me think that, yeah, this country is sort of built on the ashes of several wars, and it's got a lot of skeletons in its closet when you talk about slavery. And we're sort of trying to make it work. We've sort of risen out of this dark past, and now everybody's trying to be nice and polite to each other. We're all trying to be PC, and we're all concerned about everyone else's feelings. But we've all collectively got this shared horror of our past that we have to kind of live with and kind of deal with. And I can hear some people out there saying, "Well, it's speak for yourself, man." But I'm just saying that like this country was built on suffering, pain, death, war, slavery. Like our history is not some golden age that we need to all return back to. We're trying to come out of the dark recesses of our history, trying to release ourselves from the clutches of all that was evil that was plaguing us in our past. And it's crazy. It's almost like building a house on a foundation of like crack pipes and skeletons and heroin needles or something. And that's all built into the foundation. You're trying to have this house, but the foundation's all screwed up and it's all cracked and it's, you know. Anyway, we have enough problems today, but I just wanted to say this album, not only is it catchy, not only does it blend some really interesting different styles and influences, but it really makes you think, it makes you reflect. And I think that's the purpose of a lot of avant-garde music. Avant-garde music is supposed to open your mind, but not just to different sounds, but also to thinking about, different themes, thinking about different concepts, thinking about different histories and potential futures, and just all of these different philosophies even. So I think this album does a really good job accomplishing that. I can't say enough about this thing. It was very out of left field for me when I first heard it. I couldn't even believe that this thing existed. But man, I'm glad it does exist. And I'm going to be looking forward to whatever Zeal and Ardor have in the barrel for the future. So that's basically it, guys. I'd give this album a very high rating. I'm not really into number ratings, numerical ratings, but you guys get the gist. I really like this album, and go pick it up. If you can, get it on CD, get it on vinyl, stream it, do something, because this is definitely kind of a smaller artist that we want to support. So, but that's it for the video, guys. If you like the video, go ahead and like, comment, subscribe below. Let me know what you guys like to see me review in the future, or what you'd like to see me react to in the future. This is Metal Album Reactions. I hope you guys are having a good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.